Hey there, and welcome to DollMotion. It's time to add another doll repaint to our Monstrum collection. This series, where we repaint mythical creatures, yokai, or the cryptid. Today we have the Harpy. But what is a Harpy actually? The Harpy steeped in Greek and Roman mythology. It's a fascinating yet chilling creature. Picture this: part woman, part bird. But it's not your typical fairy tale beauty. Unlike the enchanting sirens and sirens, with their sweet voices, or the ethereal Egyptian Ba, symbolizing the human soul, the Harpy is a different kind of entity. In ancient tales, it's portrayed as a fierce, even monstrous being that snatches wounded soldiers from the battlefield, and even small children. But its most infamous trait? Its relentless thief of food, leaving victims to starve. So, with this in mind, let's make one in doll form. For this project, I'm going to use a Disney Tangled body with this a bit strange looking Elsa doll I found in a thrift store. With those big eyes, she will be a great Harpy. To prep the doll, we first have to cut off the hair as close to the scalp as possible. I only want the head, and to safely remove her from the neckpack, I dunk the doll in hot water. This makes the final of the head soft and easy to remove. Continuing with prepping the head, we remove the ears from our collection and take out the remaining hair. Well, the hair was glued in pretty well, so I had to open the scalp to remove it. With pure acetone, we remove the factory painted face to get a smooth surface. I love a clean doll mold. You can really see the potential. Okay, let's move to the craft room. Like many of my Monstrum customs, this doll is also getting a few body modifications. To do this, we first need to cut off a few doll limbs, to make room for new ones. This also gives us the opportunity to add extra joints, which we cut off from body donors. Be careful when cutting a doll body. I highly recommend using a Dremel with a movable shaft, or a small saw if you are not experienced. Great, we got all our pieces, and now we can reconstruct the body. To make the new connections sturdy, we use sticks, superglue and epoxy glue. This not so great smelling glue has to be mixed, and you have about 5 minutes to apply it. Although I'm not fully sure how I want her neck to look, I do know I want it to be long, to get that eerie vibe. To fasten it, I use friendly form. This is a tempomorph plastic that becomes flexible when you use hot water on it. When it turns clear, you can sculpt it to your liking. But when it turns white again, it will be solid and hard as plastic. For the rest of the body, we use Apoxie Sculpt, another medium we need to mix. With water, you can smooth out the epoxy. The next day, when the epoxy is cured and hard, we can sand it down in a sanding box. And it was here when I decided on a few changes for my custom. She's still getting a long neck and bird-like feet, but I want them to be movable. So this means I need to make an armature. We make a few holes with a Dremel and insert a few wires. And while we edit, we can also make the armature for the wings. Many harpies are described as having wing-like arms with sharp claws at the end, like a perfect hybrid between a human arm and a bird wing. Since I want full control over the arms, I'm going to make them from scratch. Of course, she's getting a bird tail, which will help her steer while flying in the air. Her bird feet, or talons, will have 4 toes on each foot. To make sure all the constructions will stay in place, we use epoxy glue again. To give the wings some body and to have a surface to glue on the feathers, we use a pantyhose. We make a small hole for the claws and sew the pantyhose around the wings with a needle and thread. Not forgetting the little tail. With Apoxie Sculpt, we give the harpy their distinctive appearance, which includes sharp claws and visible breasts. Harpies always have visible human breasts, which is not always the case with sirens. But, of course, I won't be able to make them 100% accurate because of the censorship rules here on YouTube. Great, the next day we can add foam clay to all the parts we want to make movable, like the neck, arms, claws, and the talons. Some little sanding here and there, and she's ready for some color. We start with the parts we treated with foam clay, covering them with a few layers of a mixture of fabric glue and acrylic paint. Wait between every layer for it to fully dry, before applying another one. I use about 5 to 6 layers. I love this technique because you can easily make new movable joints without spending too much money on a 3D printer or a silicone set. To prevent the head from scraping off the mixture, we first give the tip of the neck a layer of super glue. And if you ever wondered why my super glue is standing in a weird blue case, it's a base I made out of mold putty. This super glue bottle with a brush is top heavy and easily falls over. It happened way too often. So I made this base to prevent that from ever happening again. Okay, just like with my cockatrice and succubus custom, I'm going to cut off the parts from the fabric glue paint mixture to reveal the claws. This way, it makes it look like the claws grew out of her fingers. Finally, the head can be reunited with the body. The base colors I'm going to use are purple and beige. Knowing every purple stroke will be covered with feathers. For third color, I like to give this doll a hint of emerald. This will make the nails stand out more. To make sure you don't see any visible paint strokes on the face, we use a few layers of matte varnish. And after that, a layer of Mr. Super Clear. MSC really gives the face a paper-like texture, which makes it easy to draw on. With a watercolor pencil, I follow the strong molded eye shape to give her big eyes. but I'm going off mold to give her an open smile. But it's not a cute one. No, I want this Harpy to have a very creepy, eerie look. Like she's stalking you, hunting you down to steal your snack. We add some pastel powders for depth, and with a dark pencil, we draw on the creases of her eyes. Now that we have our guidelines, we can fill them in with acrylic paint, starting with the sclera and the teeth, emerald colored eyes, and a few markings around her eyes to give that mythical creature vibe. With a ball clay tool, we stamp in tiny pupils. Some more shading, and now we can add the highlights, like a tiny little shine in her eye and some white lines around her eyes. And to finish the face up, we give her a few lower eyelashes. We give her a spray of Mississippi Clear, wait 30 minutes for it to dry. You will see the varnish will turn matte again. We got a half-bird creature, which means she will need feathers. I want some more purple in my Monstrum lineup. But if you ever use this tutorial to make your own Harpy, you can of course decide on a different color. I love that these feathers have a greenish tint on one side. I like to use the green side on the back of her wings. But before we can use the feathers, we first need to prepare them. Disclaimer: feathers don't look harmful, but always use a mask when working with them. They can really irritate your throat or nose, and even leave you with an infection if you inhale them too much, so be careful. Okay, let's continue. We cut the fluffy parts from the big feathers and cut off the non-fluffy parts into even smaller sections. Then we take the smaller parts and trim them into miniature feathers. This process took me a full day, and I'm not even exaggerating. After this process, you will have 3 bowls or buckets with feathers. One with the miniature feathers, one with the fluffy parts, and one with the cut-off waist. We will use all of this to feather the Harpy. Take your fabric or textile glue and start with the lower legs. We will start with the fluffy bits of the feathers. Cut the feathers and glue them onto the fabric glue. Glue another row, and so on and so on. When you reach the knee, we're going to continue with the cut-off waist feathers. Glue them on one by one until you reach the hips. To cover the crotch, we use fluffy feathers again. And around the hips, we use miniature feathers. We also use them on the tail. Continue with the cut-off feather bits on our hips, back and arms. And now we can work on our wings. Start with big miniature feathers and finish on the inside of the wings with smaller miniature feathers. Do multiple rows, then continue with a few rows of waist feather bits and finish on one side of the wing with the fluffy part of the feathers. Do the same thing on the back of the wings, but this time with the green side of the feathers for a neat effect. Now that the wings are done, we can continue with the collarbone area and go up to the neck. On the lower back of the head, we use fluff and feather bits, and the smallest miniature feathers I had to frame her face. Now she only needs hair. To make hair, we use purple yarn. We wind them to a giant fly swatter comb them out with pet brushes and glue them into a plastic bag. The next day we can peel off the hair wefts, which is super satisfying. Trim the edges and glue on the wefts with glue. Go in a spiral to the top. When the glue is dry, we can cut the hair to the right length and style it to your liking. Some high gloss varnish and our harpy is done, ready to find a victim to steal food from. Hey, if you like more DollMotion content, such as behind the scenes photos, joining in polls, or seeing my collection of bestiary books I use in my Monstrum videos, follow me on Instagram at DollMotion. And if you like to support the channel so I can keep making Monstrum dolls, please consider supporting me on Patreon or on YouTube memberships. There you will see the newest dolls before anyone else, have early access to YouTube videos, and you can watch over 20 exclusive RePaint videos. I would really like to thank my lovely patrons, Kanemaru, Cat Vanity, and everyone else on Patreon and YouTube memberships. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. But before I go, did you spot the hint for the upcoming RePaint video? Let me know in the comments if you did. Like always. Like if you liked it and sub if you loved it. I will see you in the next RePaint video. Until then, bye!